I've found that most people are not prepared for the toll that going after their dream takes on them. I have, in the past 3 years, I've traveled to multiple countries. I have built an audience online. I have built a ghostwriting business, and I am now building up a community. And now I'm at a point where I am slowly starting to create this life that, I always wanted. I be the person that I always wanted to be. I'm reading the Harvard classics for fun. I'm relearning calculus for fun. I'm learning like basically three languages right now. And I'm doing that all while still working my regular job, my day job that I obviously hope to be out of and not reliant on one day, and still building an audience, still writing. Um, I've I fitness has definitely kind of taken a hit. I know I need to reprioritize that. But for the most part, right now I'm slowly starting to grow into the person that I've always wanted to be, right? But that took a lot of pain. It took a lot of pain. And there's still a lot of pain. Like I literally just got into an argument with my mom the other day. Once again, like it's been the same argument for 10 years about how if I don't go to college, I'm not gonna have any respect or I am going to be a bum or whatever it's going to be. And of course it can be a pretty it's a very it can be a very lonely journey because I mean, look, dude, I barely talk to my friends, or my old friends. I barely see them. And all my new friends are online and on in other parts of the world, completely different time zones. Like one is in Malaysia, one is in Australia, one is in Europe. It's like it's very difficult to hang out with them as it is right now. So I think that's the biggest thing is you have to be prepared to go at it alone. Like it's going to be a solo journey, right? Because I mean, this is your odyssey, right? This is your undertaking, and fundamentally, that's something that you're going to have to. It's not going to be forever, but for the beginning, you're going to have to be go at it alone. And even if you get a mentor, even if you get courses, like it's still you. It's still you pushing the rock up the hill, right? It's still, it's all you, and that can be very, very scary because you don't really know what's going to happen. Like fundamentally, you don't actually know what's going to happen. You can do all the right things. You you can do it, but you don't know what's going to happen. I certainly never expected that I was going to make money writing online. When I dropped out of college, the original plan was to hop onto Amazon FBA and start drop shipping. And ultimately that never went through, but the lessons that I took from that have stayed with me, right? And fundamentally that was in building a brand, building a business, right? What I learned from Amazon carried its way over to where I'm at now. I've managed to make money. Like I had this idea of a hot chocolate with melatonin brand, and that never went through, but I tried at least. I've even gotten paid to do a little bit. I've even dabbled a little bit in like freelance photography, but that never went through either. But every single thing that I've learned, I've taken with me to the next thing. And that's the beautiful thing about anything that you do is no matter what happens, if it's a failure, if it's a success, if it's whatever, like the moment that cool shit happens, it's very fleeting, right? But the lessons that you learn, the skills that you pick up, those are there to stay. You can keep that forever until you die. And you can take that with you to the next thing, to the next thing, and to the next thing so that you never actually truly start from zero. Nobody ever starts from zero in anything. Everybody has their own unique sets of strengths and weaknesses, but really strengths. and talents that you can take with you into anything. And that's why if there's anything I've learned in this whole like space of creator, entrepreneurship, writing online, is that there's so much opportunity. In fact, the real problem isn't that there whether you have the opportunity, if there's opportunity for you or not. It's that there's just so much that that's actually a problem of finding, okay, which is the things that actually align with me. Right? So because again, there's so much opportunity, there is no reason why you cannot find some sort of business model that aligns with you and makes you a fuck ton of money. Even though I haven't actually done that yet, but I see it now. I see it now. There is so many things that you can do to make money. Like draw, everything works, right? It's just a matter of what's suited to you and, what are the pros and cons. Like I said before, like sure, you can try and go start a tech unicorn, but do you know how to raise funding? Do you know how to, I mean, do you know how that works? You know? But you can definitely like with ChatGPT and like Cursor and these other tools, you can make an app right now, right? You don't need to make it into a sexy tech startup. There's so many tools available to you to make that relatively inexpensive to you. But again, it's not really about like what business works. It really what you need to ask is what am I curious about and what am I interested in, and go from there. Go from there. And obviously you set the constraint of okay, what's going to actually get me like make me financially free, right? And that you only arrive at two answers when it comes to that. You can invest your income that you make from your regular job, or you start a business. Those are really the only two things you got, right? And when I mean invest your income, it could be in anything, right? That's a very broad term. Yeah, you can invest in crypto. Maybe you'll hit it big. You invest it in real estate, but really, those are the only two things. And I like the business route because fundamentally, I work at that shit for 10 years. I never have to work for anyone ever again in my life, right? But like, I recently I started this free community and we hit 22 members. We have six pending requests that I still need to accept. I've been recording looms for every single one of them. And it's really cool. There's two members that have been very, very active and it's super gratifying. It's based for it's called Polymath Creators, and it's it's literally just this school community for people who are multi-talented, multi-passionate, multi-potentialites who have that polymathic potential, who have that pull towards like polymathy, and it's slowly happening. I like the dream that I've had, and this is just one part of it. This is just the beginning. The like the part of the dream that I've had was just like location freedom. That is, and being fit, being in shape too, like, and being like this scholarly person who's devoted to holistic excellence in the intellect and the spiritual and the physical. It's slowly starting to take shape. And I was talking about it, but like I've read through a lot of the great spiritual texts of the East. Maybe not a lot, but some of the major ones, like right, like the Gita, the Upanishads. I've read like that Tao Te Ching. I've read I've read several stuff, man, and I've meditated a lot. I've like expanded my mind, and things are really looking up in a way. Like I am actually like, yeah, there's still things. There's always going to be things to work on, and you don't really understand the weight of that until you actually have a lot of shit to work on. And I don't mean that in a gatekeepy way, but I mean genuinely, like there are truths and these like pithy statements that you hear, like never give up, that you're like, yeah, sure, never give up. But then when you start doing stuff, when you start going out there in the world, or not necessarily out there, but like just going after your goals, your dreams, you these these little cheesy little statements turn into like universal truths. You start to see them for what they are, right? And honestly, like one of those things is just I just have to be patient. If I just continue doing the things that I know I need to do and treat this like a marathon and not a sprint, see, I just hit you with like five of them in a row, then I know that if I just don't quit, I will never lose. See, like literally rapid fire. So, and I say this, I pass this down, and I say this on this video because, when you're in it, when you are so uncertain of everything, you have nothing to hold on to. So if you can just kind of semi believe me enough to just start, that would be that would be more than enough. And that's why we say those things. Honestly, we say those to us that truths that really hit, and we kind of start to understand that they just sound like mumbo jumbo to people who haven't done it. But we say that to just it's like when you're trying to get to Pluto, right? Any little tiny deviation in your trajectory will can be the difference between you actually getting to Pluto and being thousands of miles way off. And so that's what we do when we say these little statements. And honestly, you can say that about any book that you read. There's a quote where it says about reading books. It went something along the lines of like I don't remember exactly like I don't really remember all the books that I read. I just kind of incorporate like little pieces of them and I incorporate these little pieces of the book. Anyway, but they've influenced me in ways that I cannot explain. I really explain that badly, but the same thing is true. And I'm just talking about bullshit. But the same thing is true. So all that to say, be prepared because that really this was all about going after your dreams and all that sort of shit. Is It's going to be very emotionally painful. There's a reason why most people give up on their things, and then they get cynical and they tell you, "Ah, man, you got to be realistic. You can't." No, it's because, and obviously there are extenuating circumstances, right? Like some people just couldn't. Maybe it wasn't meant for them, right? But if you see a path, right? If you see that it's possible, it's even remotely possible, right? Like there have been people who were piss poor and they became billionaires. And you have to understand that people look at that and they think that like it's like some sort of fucking coin toss where, you just toss a coin and boom, this guy's a billionaire, right? And you think that right, like because you look at the statistics and you're like one in X amount of people who are poor, maybe 10,000, maybe a million people who are poor become billionaires. And you think that's just like a coin toss, right? Where it's just it's almost like this kind of deterministic reality where it's a coin toss and then boom, one of you guys are going to become a billionaire for sure. But you as a human being are much more malleable than that. You're not like some drone where we flip a coin and then you're just gonna change your state to a billionaire, right? You actually have a lot of control. Not a lot, but you do have control over what that could over the outcome of your life, right? There's a saying in if you've read the Seven Taoist Masters, it's they say something about destiny. And there was this guy who was super depressed and he wanted to become he was on his way to become a Tao master. And there was this fortune teller who was telling him, "You are destined to die. You are destined to like end up on the side of a ditch, dead." Right? And later on, the man went through some experiences and he figured shit out. And he ended up being a Taoist. He became the master that he wanted to become. And so he went back to that fortune teller and he was like, "Yo, what the fuck? I thought you told me that I was I was destined to die, you idiot. Why'd you say all that?" And the fortune teller said to him, "Yeah, well, look at that was how you were at the time." And what you have to understand is that destiny isn't necessarily like this prescribed thing that the universe just presets for you in the beginning. It's a little bit more than maybe, who knows, but it's also a set of your actions and the choices that you make. And you can choose to do you can choose to make a better life for yourself, or you can choose to bow down to other people who says that you can't do, who also bow down, and so they say that you cannot. And honestly, it comes down to who do you want to listen to? Because I know that when I listen to other people and allowed them to take the reins of my life, I was miserable 100% of the time. Every single time I have surrendered control of my life, I have paid for it with misery. And there's a difference between pain, right, and misery, right? There's a difference between, right, like when you're like there's a difference between going to the gym and those little micro tears in your muscles and soreness versus tearing your ACL. You don't want to tear your ACL, right? But obviously you want those little micro tears in your muscle, but you don't want to tear your ACL. And so you have to understand that when you listen to people, when you let them make choices for you, you're basically tearing your ACL, your spiritual ACL. Whereas you begin to like actually put yourself back in the driver's seat, right? That's when you build your muscles. That's when you get the micro tears. That's when you get stronger. But it has to start with you choosing, okay, look, I, this person, XYZ, and this can even be people that you care about and that care about you too, right? This isn't people who are like actively conspiring to make your life miserable. That's actually that is a very small minority of cases. It's usually just people who don't know better. They mean well, but they don't know better. That's it. So it could be your parents, it could be teachers, it could be adults in your life who are well-meaning, but they just do not know, right? There's that quote from Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they do not know, right? Most people just do not know. I don't know, I'm just like talking out my ass at this point, but most people do not know, and they do not really care to know. They don't want to think deeper than what's behind like the curtain, okay? So for anybody who does, you have to understand that you cannot listen to them. They're unqualified. They're unqualified to give you advice on your life, right? In fact, everybody but you is unqualified because ultimately it's you who has to live your life. It's you who has to live with the consequences of your choices and your actions. So and there are always going to be consequences, good and bad, and you just have to learn and you have to choose which ones you are willing to live with, right? Like I am willing to put up with being lonely or alone for 3, 4, 5 years before I ever get any payoff from this. And something my mom talks about a lot is like, if I don't get a college degree, then I'm not going to get any respect from people in my culture, which I'm Filipino. And so Filipino/Asian culture. And honestly, she's right. But you know what? I am willing to give up like this whatever fucking temporary this drop in status, whatever the fuck you want to call it. I would give that up forever. I would rather be in this like low status or being perceived as this low status than making it seem like I'm high status with these stupid materialistic bullshit, right? I would rather actually be in a good place in life than look like I'm in a good place in life. And so if looking like a fucking loser to my culture, which again, that's just a subjective opinion of one person, right? You have to understand that. If that's what it has to take for me to achieve the things that I want to achieve, because look, at the end of the day, I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for everyone that I care about, right? Then so be it. That's the choice I make. That is the choice I make because I know that will be temporary. That being perceived as this fucking bum college dropout or whatever. That's fine, whatever. I would rather that and me actually achieving what I set out to achieve. If that's what it takes, it's a small price to pay. So yeah, you really have to get clear. Okay, what are you okay with? What kind of pain are you okay with taking on? Because they're like, all the gurus, all the mystics will tell you, all the suffering is, you know, you're responsible for your suffering. And yeah, it is. And you can't escape from it, right? You can't. You can try to, there's no like spiritual bypassing or anything. You're going to feel a lot of pain, right? It's going to feel like you're at the bottom of a PR for a squat and you're like, fuck, how am I going to push this weight up? And it's going to feel like that every day. And I would not have it any other way because this is my challenge, right? This is my fight. This is my battle. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So choose like what are the battles you want to fight? And what is the bullshit you're willing to put up with? And get really clear on that. And that'll really set you up.